My name is Nora, and I grew up in a family where love was never shared equally. From the outside, we looked like the perfect middle-class family, a father who worked hard, a mother who cared for the home, and 2 children. But if you stepped inside our house, you would see a very different picture. I was the eldest, and my younger brother, Frank, was the golden child, and that favoritism shaped my entire life. It started the year I turned 18. One evening, my father called me into the sitting room. He was sitting with a serious face, a brown envelope on the table. My mother sat beside him, nodding. My father said, "Nora, you are an adult now. Nothing in this life comes for free. From now on, you must start contributing to the house. You will pay part of the bills. Light, water, and food. It's time you learn responsibility." I froze. Bills? At my age? Meanwhile, Frank, my younger brother, sat on the couch eating suya and laughing at cartoons. Nobody asked him for a thing. That was the beginning of my nightmare. Every month I was expected to hand over money for bills. At first I had nothing. I was still finishing school. So, I took small jobs after classes, helping in a shop, running errands, sometimes even washing people's clothes. I remember one day, after a long shift at a boutique, I dragged myself home with 4,000 naira in my pocket. I planned to save some for textbooks, but before I could even hide it, my mother stretched out her hand. She said, "Bring it. Electricity bill is due. You want us to stay in darkness?" Meanwhile, Frank was given pocket money for free. He got new clothes, new shoes, and never once did they ask him to contribute a dime. The bitterness grew in me. At night, I cried quietly in my room, asking God why I was being treated like a stranger in my own father's home. As months passed, the demands increased. Water bill, market money, even part of the rent. One Saturday, while I was scrubbing the floor, Frank walked in. He laughed and said, Frank said, "Sister, you better hurry. Daddy said the DSTV subscription is your responsibility now." I looked at him with tears in my eyes. I said to him, "Why don't you ever pay anything?" "You're not a baby anymore." Frank said, "Because I'm the son, and sons are not treated the same as daughters." Those words cut through me like a knife. That night, I packed my few belongings into a small bag and whispered to myself, "One day, I will never beg anyone for shelter again. I will make it on my own." I finished secondary school and refused to depend on my parents anymore. I took sewing classes, braided hair in the evenings, and sold small snacks on the roadside. Life was hard. Many nights I went hungry, but slowly I began to save. I rented a small one-room apartment with peeling walls, but to me, it was freedom. Frank still lived at home, enjoying everything for free. He bragged about how lucky he was while I was struggling to survive. But deep inside, I knew my suffering was shaping me into someone stronger. I worked hard for years learning tailoring, taking online jobs, even starting a small clothing business. Every setback only fueled me more. At 26, after nearly a decade of hustling, my business finally took off. I landed a big contract to sew uniforms for a chain of private schools. The payment was more money than I had ever seen in my life. I invested wisely, expanded my business, and within 3 years, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I bought my own car, moved into a decent apartment, and started saving for a dream I had carried since the day my parents first made me pay bills. One day I saw a notice online. A house was up for sale in my old neighborhood, the very same house my parents lived in. My heart skipped a beat. I called the agent. After weeks of negotiations, paperwork, and a loan, The house was mine. The day I got the keys, I couldn't stop crying. The same house where I was once treated like a tenant, now I was the real owner. I went home with the ownership documents. My parents were sitting in the parlor, Frank still lounging like a king. I said to them, "Daddy, Mummy, remember all those years you made me pay bills while Frank lived free?" My father frowning, "Yes, and you turned out responsible, didn't you?" Maybe I said, "But here's the irony today. I own this house. The landlord sold it to me." They were speechless. My mother's jaw dropped. My father looked like he had seen a ghost. Even Frank sat up stunned. "Don't worry," I said. "I won't treat you the way you treated me. You can live here, rent-free. But never again will you call me a burden." The silence was heavy. For the first time, they looked at me with respect. I forgave them not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. The truth is, their unfairness had built me. The very pain that almost broke me became the fuel that lifted me. Now, every time I walk through that house, I smile. The girl who once paid bills as a child is now the landlady. And that is why you should never let injustice crush you. Sometimes the stone that others throw at you is the very one you'll use to build your castle. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share.